Welcome to Introduction to Biblical Hebrew. We are in our final class for this trimester. Next week is the exam. And we're going to be looking at the final lesson, and that is lesson 16, entitled The Inseparable Prepositions. Now, although this lesson may go into different grammatical rules, when I'm reviewing the lesson after a few minutes, I will be picking out what the students need to focus on in this lesson to prepare for next week's exam. We're going to begin our class with prayer. Father in heaven, I give you thanks for this time that we have to look at our final lesson in Hebrew for this trimester. I thank you for all that you've enabled us to learn, and all that you will enable us to learn in the future if it is your will. We pray that you may open our understanding to understand what we are about to look at. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so the inseparable prepositions mean that there are certain words that cannot stand by themselves, that they have to be joined to another word. And this is why they are called inseparable. And there are three prepositions that you can see on the board. Lamed may be represent the preposition to or for. Beth may be used to represent the preposition in, with, or by. And kaf may be used to represent the preposition as or like. It is important for your final exam to fix this in your minds. These three prepositions: lamed, to or for; beth, in, with, or by; kaf, as or like. These prepositions have no existence as separate words, but like the definite article, they attach themselves as prefixes to the words they govern. Therefore, they are called inseparable prepositions. You also need to know this. Rule number one, we're looking at the rules governing inseparable prepositions. You need to know for the exam the first rule. They are normally without a vowel under them. And when I say they, I mean lamed, beth, and kaf. They are normally without any vowel underneath them. What do they have instead then? Instead, they have a shewah under them. For example, melech means a king. Melech means to a king. Notice that under the lamed are two dots, a vertical set of dots, one above the other. That's called a simple shewah. So instead of a vowel, there is a simple shewah. So now you have not only lamed, pronounced like our English L, but you have the simple shewah, which is pronounced like a quick E, like the E in because. Le. Le means to, melech means king or a king. So when you join le and melech together, you have le melech, meaning to a king. Also, when you join beth, and under beth you have the simple shewah, and you join this to melech, you have beth melech, which means in a cave. When you join kaf, which has the simple shua underneath it, to melek, you have ke melek, which means as a king. Now let us use another noun. We're using the noun Adam or Adam. In modern Hebrew, they don't make a distinction between the dalet that has no dot and the dalet that has a dot. In ancient Hebrew, used in the Bible, they did. So technically, biblically, this would be Atham. In modern Hebrew, the Israelites, the Jews today say Adam. This is the same word from which we get our English word Adam. The first man was called Adam. And Adam or Atham means a man. Now let us put the prepositions to this noun Adam. Le Adam means to a man. Be Adam means in a man. Ke Adam means as a man. Okay, so that is another set of grammatical topics that you need to know for your exam. Now, I'll be doing this in a special review after this lesson. I won't be going through the entire lesson, but I'll be doing part of the lesson. The next slide is another thing that you need to know for your exam. And this is rule number 2, governing inseparable prepositions. When the inseparable preposition is prefixed to a word whose first letter has a shawal, for example, the word Shemuel or Samuel. Notice that Shemuel begins with a shin, and under the shin you have the 2 vertical dots that were under the inseparable prepositions lamed, beth, and kaf. So Shemuel starts with a she, with shin and the simple shawal. Now, since 2 shawas cannot stand together, that's one of the grammatical rules. 2 shawas cannot stand together at the beginning of a word as le Shemuel. The shawa under the prefix, that is under the lamed, becomes the short kirik, which is just a dot underneath lamed. And it would be pronounced le Shemuel, le Shemuel. Notice the second shawa, the one under shin in the word Shemuel, remains vocal. That is, it is to be pronounced as it was before the preposition was attached. So let us look at some words. You have Shemuel, meaning Samuel. Then you have le Shemuel, meaning to Samuel. Be Shemuel, meaning in Samuel. Let's look at another word, the word for kings, Melachim. Melachim. To kings is le Melachim. In kings is be, that black dot under be is really just one dot. Be Melachim, in kings. As Samuel is ki Shemuel, as Samuel. And ki Melachim is as kings. So when you have 2 shawas coming together at the beginning, the one that is under the inseparable preposition becomes the vowel, the short vowel kirik, and the second shawa is pronounced. The second shawa is pronounced. The kirik is pronounced, and the Shiwa is pronounced. Okay, so you need to know that. I'll be going over that shortly as well. Okay, here is another rule, but you don't need to know this one for your exam. I'll go quickly through it. And in the new trimester, go over this lesson to refresh your memory. But number 3, you don't need to know this rule for the exam. A special case of 2 is when the inseparable preposition is prefixed to a word beginning with ye. You have yod, which is the consonant, and under the consonant, the 2 vertical dots called a simple shiwa, as in the word Yehutha, or what modern Hebrew speakers would call Yehuda, meaning Judah. Well, if you want to write to Judah in Hebrew, it is first, according to the previous rule, rule number 2, Li Yehutha, or Li Yehuda. But the yod quiesces. That is, it loses its consonantal character or its sound and joins the preceding vowel underneath the lamed, the short karik, to form the long karik, the long I sound. Karik is an I, and the short karik is a short I sound, like in pit, and the long karik is a long I sound, like in machine. So when you find that the yod quiesces or loses its pronunciation by itself as a letter and joins the preceding vowel that is underneath the lamed, let us say, which is short karik, it forms the long karik. The shua underneath the yod falls off from the yod. So, for example, Li Yehuda becomes Lihutha or Lihuda to Judah. Also in Judah is Bi Huda, and as Judah is Ki Hutha. Okay, so I'll review I will look at this next term, but for the exam purpose, you don't have to know this one. Rule number 4 also, you don't need to know for the exam, but I'll go through it quickly. Another special case of 2 is when the inseparable preposition is prefixed to a word whose first letter is a guttural, which has a composite shiwa, like in this word, ari. Notice that under the aleph, you have a katef pathak, that is a horrid pathak. It is a composite shiwa consisting of a pathak, and to the right of the pathak is a simple shiwa. The pathak and the simple shiwa together is a composite shiwa called katef pathak, meaning horrid pathak. So you have ari, a lion. The combination of le, ari is impossible, since 2 shiwas cannot stand together at the beginning of a word. So under the influence of the composite shiwa, the inseparable preposition takes the corresponding short vowel. So since the short vowel in the katef pathak under aleph in the word ari has a pathak, when you put lamed beside ari, instead of having 2 vertical dots under the lamed as you would normally have, you have a pathak that is put underneath it, corresponding to the pathak that is in the composite shiwa, katef pathak, horrid pathak. So to a lion is la ari. In a lion is ba ari. And ka ari is as a lion. Similarly, the Hebrew word Edom or Edom means Edom. But when you have Le Edom, notice that the segol in the Katef segol is also placed under Lamed. So you have Le Edom meaning to Edom, Be Edom meaning in Edom, and Ke Edom as Edom. Don't worry, because I will be looking at another PowerPoint after this one. I will have time for that, which will be very simple as I go over the lesson. You don't have to know this one for the exam. Okay, give me a little break here. Finish. Okay, I'm going to be continuing now. So we're moving on to the next slide. You also don't need to know this for the exam. An exception to 4 is the word Elohim, God. The combination is first Le Elohim. Notice that under the Aleph, I really should be pointing so you can know what I'm talking about. Notice that under the Aleph in Elohim, which means God, you have a composite shua called Katef Segol, Ored Segol. And the rule is you can't have two shuas coming one after the other at the beginning of a word. So when this preposition is joined to the word Elohim, what has to happen is that it takes from the composite shua this upside down triangle. It's put over here also. So you have Le Elohim first. But what happens further is the Aleph quiesces. That is, it loses its consonantal character by becoming silent. And when it becomes silent, the Katef Segol, or the composite shua, is removed so that it doesn't have any shua or any vowel underneath it when the Lamed comes before it. And what you end up with is that instead of the segol remaining a segol, which is a short E sound, it lengthens and becomes a long E sound, so that it has to change to what is called a sere, a long E sound. And so there is no shua, either simple or composite, under the Aleph. There is no vowel under the Aleph. And so all you have left with is Le Lo He, which means to God. Le Elohim, to God. Be Elohim, in God. He Elohim, as God. Now here is something else. The divine name, that is the personal name of God in Hebrew, is always written in the Hebrew Bible like this: Yehovah, from which we get Jehovah in English. But when the scribes wrote it as Yehovah, they did not want the readers of the Hebrew Bible to say Yehovah, because that is really not God's personal name. What they have done with this word is to take the vowels of another word called Adonai or Adonai, which means Lord, and they have placed these vowels underneath the consonants Yod, He, Waw, He, so that when you are reading the Hebrew Bible and you see the vowels of Adonai underneath the consonants Yod, He, Waw, He, which are the 4 consonant letters of God's personal name in Hebrew, you know that you're not supposed to say Yehovah, but instead you are to read it as Adonai or Adonai, which in English means Lord. It's why in our English translations, much of the time, you read God's name in the Bible as Lord, with a capital L, capital O, capital R, and capital D. Now, Yehovah has the vowel symbols of Adonai to prevent readers from calling the divine name because they are afraid. From the 3rd century BC, they have been afraid that if anybody misuses God's name by actually calling his name and trying to use it for some evil purpose, that God would punish people. So they try to avoid it by using some title to replace God's personal name, like the title Adonai or Adonai meaning Lord. And to indicate that, they have put the vowels of Adonai with the 4 consonant letters of God's divine name, Yod, He, Waw, He. So they prevent readers from calling the divine name, which scholars believe was most likely pronounced either as Yahweh or Yahweh. Therefore, when the inseparable preposition is prefixed to the divine name, it should take the corresponding short vowel that is under Adonai. For example, it is placed under the Lamed, and so you have La, how do I pronounce that? Lai Oa, or they would really pronounce it La Donai, La Donai, meaning to the Lord. Ba Donai, in the Lord. Ha Donai, as the Lord. That's how they will do it, because they're not going to say Yahovah or any form of that. That's not in your exam. I'm not really spending time on it as such. In the next trimester, God willing, I will go back over these things that I've hurried through. Now, let me check my printout, because I have certain signs written there. All right, this is rule number 7. You don't have to know this one either for your exam. Thank you very much. You don't have to know this one either for your exam. Let me go through it. Number 7. Sometimes immediately before the accented syllable, the inseparable preposition takes the vowel commas A. For example, waters, the waters. Notice that waters start with a patak. It's a short A sound. But when you have the inseparable preposition before the same word, that because it is in a place that you call pause, it has the saluk, which is a sign that looks like an effect, which indicates you must pause here. Patak cannot remain patak, it has to be lengthened because time is being spent with this syllable. It becomes commas A. And now that it becomes commas A, what is under Lamed has to become commas A as well. So you have Mayim, La, Mayim. Waters, the waters. Or, because this is an accented syllable, you find that you have to put a commas here because it comes before the accented syllable. La, shevet, which is to sit. When the inseparable preposition is followed by the definite article, for example, to the king, which we should expect to be Lech Hamelech, the He of the article falls away and gives its vowel which is patak, to the preposition, that is to the lamed, like this. You have la melech. So this would be to the king. La melech, to the king. The definite article is in the patak here, to the king. Don't fret yourself if you don't get it yet. All right, because I'm not really focusing on that, and I'm shortly going to finish this lesson and review. Now, this part here dealing with min, you need to know. Concerning min, which is another preposition, it is a preposition that means from. The preposition min, from, is usually prefixed to the word it governs when that word does not have the definite article. It then becomes inseparable. Before ordinary letters, that is, excluding gutturals, aleph, a, heth, ayin, and the letter resh, for example, Shaul, which is Saul, the combination min Shaul becomes mish Shaul. Notice what happens. The vowelless nun becomes part of shin, and the shin is doubled. Notice the dagesh forte in it. Is doubled by dagesh forte compensative. It thus becomes mi followed by dagesh forte. For example, from a king is mi melech. From a day is mi yom. From a night is mi layla. Okay, you need to know that, but I'll be reviewing. And you also need to know this one. I'll end right here with this lesson and get into the exam preparation right away. Before gutturals, aleph, a, heth, ayin, or resh, since these letters cannot receive a dagesh forte, the short karik under mem, in the preposition min, from, is lengthened to sere, and the preposition changes from me to me. For example, from a city is me'ir, from darkness is me koshet, and from a head is me rosh. When min is followed by the definite article, the preposition may remain separate as min amelech, from the king, or become inseparable, me ha melech. Notice that there is sere underneath the mem because it is followed by a guttural. When a guttural letter follows the min, then the kiri has to change to a sire. Since he of the definite article is a guttural, it cannot take dagesh forte, and the short kiri under mem lengthens to a sire under mem. Now for the review. I'm going to be strategically preparing you for it and making it extremely simple. Okay, so I'm going to go out of this lesson. Let me just go back to the beginning. I'm going to get out of here, go on to the next one. There it is. Okay, this is a special review now for the exam, okay? I'm training you now for the exam. Inseparable prepositions for the final Hebrew exam. This is what you absolutely need to know to do well in the Hebrew exam next week, God willing. Okay, so number one, you need to remember that le means to. Le is a preposition that means to. You must remember that. Le means to. Number two, you need to remember be means in. Number three, you need to remember that ke means as. Number four, you need to remember that melech means to a king. Le is to, melech is a king. Le melech means to a king. I'm going to be sending this to your PowerPoint, to your emails also. Be Melech means in a king. Ke Melech means as a king. All right. Any question on any of these so far that is not clear to you?
So basically, we just have to memorize all the old six, right?
You need to, if you have that memory that you can remember it like that, that's fine. But prepositions is what we're looking at, and we're looking at how some prepositions are not separated from the word that they are governing. Like, notice that le is joined to melech. Notice that be is joined to melech. Notice that ke is joined to melech. These are inseparable. You cannot separate them from the noun. They are joined together. They're not to be separated. Okay? They do not stand by themselves. You won't have this in the Hebrew Bible, a leg standing by itself, or a be standing by itself, or a ke standing by itself. As a word that cannot stand by itself, that is why it is called inseparable preposition. It has to be joined to a word. So it's joined to melech. For example, le melech means what? Le melech means what? To a king. Be melech means what? In a king. Ke melech means what? As a king. So they are not separated from the noun. They are joined to the noun, and they are not separated. They are inseparable prepositions. That's the lesson we are studying today. Number 7, you need to know the preposition min. Yes, Enrico.
I thought it was only 6 of them.
No, it's not only 6. But you don't have to worry. I don't go beyond 10. I end right here. In other words, this is the final slide. So you don't have to worry. You just need to read it over and over and over again. You can't just read it once and think that you will remember. You have to read it over again. Now this is dealing with min. In the first slide, we looked at le, be, and ke. We're now looking over here at min, M-I-N. Mem, hirik, and nun. Min, meaning from. Now when you join min to melech, what happens is the nun in min drops out. And to compensate for the dropping out of nun, the following letter, mem, is doubled with a dagesh forte, compensative, compensating for the loss of nun. So you have mim melech, the M is doubled. Mim melech, mim melech. Mim melech means from what? Or who? From who? Mim melech means from a king. What is min? Enrico, what does min mean? Min, M-I-N. Mem, hirik, and nun. Min. Min means, it starts with the letter F in English. From. Min by itself means from. And Elan, what does melech mean by itself? Melech by itself Melech by itself means a king. Melech, if you take the word Melech alone, it means a king. When you join min to Melech, something happens to the noon or the n in the min. The noon or the n in the min drops out. You don't see it. But you know that it was there because its absence now is compensated by the doubling of the first letter of the noun, which is mem. So there are two mems there, indicated by dagesh forte compensative in the heart of mem. So you have mim melech, which means from, this is represented here, from a king, from a king, from a king. Mim melech, from a king. Now, here you have min again, but it looks different from the min up here. The min up here had a kirik, a short I sound like E. This doesn't have a kirik. This is sere, and it's a long E sound. And the reason it is different is that when you have min coming before a word that begins with a guttural letter, and aleph is a guttural letter, then the aleph cannot be doubled with a dagesh forte. You remember that guttural letters, aleph, he, kef, ayin, and resh, cannot take a dagesh forte. Because it cannot take a dagesh forte, the guttural cannot be doubled. So to compensate for not being able to double this letter, the short kirik has to be lengthened to a different vowel, to the vowel sire, a long E sound like in they, T-H-E-Y, they, A. And then you have a meteg, which means you pause before you pronounce the noun. So you have me Elohim, meaning from God. Me Elohim. So when you have min attaching itself to a word that starts with a guttural letter, it may not be aleph, it may be a he, it may be a kef, it may be an ayin. It is a guttural letter. The kiri cannot remain like this. It has to be lengthened because the guttural letter cannot be doubled to compensate for the loss of the noon. So what has to be done to compensate for the loss of the noon is the lengthening of the short vowel to a long vowel, from a short I to a long E sound, me Elohim, from God. Now let us come to this one. Notice what happens. This is a regular one. The noon drops off from the min, and compensating for the loss of the noon, the dagesh forte is put in the letter shin, meaning that it is doubled, to compensate for the loss of the noon, the loss of the n right here, so that what you have is mish Shemuel, mish Shemuel, mish Shemuel, meaning from Samuel. The simple shawah is to be pronounced. Mish Shemuel. Now in this case, now I don't have the vowels of Adonai underneath the consonant letters Yod, He, Waw, He, as in the previous slide. But when you have min being joined to God's personal name, the kirik has to be changed to a sire also. So you have Metonai or Medonai, meaning from the Lord, from the Lord, from the Lord. So let's look at that again. Let me check my time and see. Oh, my time is gone. Let me just quickly go through it one more time. You need to know this for the exam. If you know this, Enrico, I guarantee you will get 100% next week. And every one of you, Northeast, if you know this, you have 100% already. You need to know this well in order to get the high marks. Okay? So out of the long lesson, I didn't even go through all the lesson because I'm concerned about getting you ready for the exam. If you know this well, as we say in Jamaica, you're gone clear. I wonder if you know that expression. Do you brothers from Haiti know what we mean by you're gone clear? Means you have it made. You're going to really succeed, you know? So you have gone clear if you know this. I guarantee you that. You've gone clear. Le means true. Be means in. Ke means as. Le melek means to a king. Be melek means in a king. Ke melek means as a king. Robins have tried to make it simpler by putting the English letters here. Okay, so you can have an idea of what you are pronouncing. Okay, know this and you're gone clear. Okay, Melech, from a king. Me Elohim, from God. Mish Shemuel, from Samuel. Metonai or Medonai means from the Lord, God's personal name. Medonai, from the Lord. Me is from, and Adonai or Tonai is the Lord. Question? Any question on this? God permitting, I will send it later on to you this afternoon. This short slide here, it's called Review of Lesson 16, Inseparable Prepositions for the final Hebrew exam. It's just after this first slide, just 2 more slides, and that's it. Okay, just 2 more slides, and that's it. Focus on this, and you're gone clear. Uno, gone clear. Enrico didn't know I could speak Patois. Uno, gone clear. Yeah. All right. Okay, well, thank you for your participation. And next week, God permitting, we are going to have some great results from Hebrew and from apologetics, communication studies, and what remains for the afternoon is hermeneutics. Well, thank you all for joining us on the internet. This is the end of our Hebrew class for this trimester. Next week is the exam. The exam will be on PowerPoint on the board, just like all the tests were. So we will start our hermeneutics class for year 3 students at approximately 1:30 this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, Jamaica time. God bless you all. Have a great weekend.
Hello.
Yes. Shalom. Shalom.
Yeah.